Hey there, folks. I'm in Palm Springs, California, right near Palm Springs International Airport. A lot of planes flying over. So this is video number 2 on my short game mastery series, and this is going to be radius killer number 2. So the first one, hopefully you watched, because it's very important, where I talked about your swing center, how it controls the radius, the angle of descent of the club into the ground or into the ball, hopefully into the ball, not the ground. But so now it's going to be radius killer number 2, and this is all going to culminate to the ultimate lesson, which I'm going to explain something that no one else talks about, that is absolutely the most amazing thing when it comes to chipping and understanding how to keep a consistent radius and hit perfect chips most of the time. So radius killer number 2 is the right wrist. Okay, now the right wrist goes like this and it goes like that. It extends and it flexes. Extremely important in chipping. I remember a million years ago I watched Johnny Miller talk about how important that right wrist is in chipping, and he talked about it in terms of loft on the club. So whatever that right wrist is set at would basically determine the loft of the club at chipping. And that's very important because changes in the loft of the club will just basically make getting the right distance difficult. You're more inconsistent. And when I get to my bump and run video where I explain bump and run shots where you use like an 8-iron or a 9-iron or even a 7-iron, one of the number one faults I see when people are trying to use a low lofted club is their first move is they break this right wrist and they turn that 8-iron into a 6-iron, and then their bump and run goes 30 feet too far. But not only is this right wrist super important for determining the loft of the club that is applied to impact, it also very much affects the radius. Now I have an alignment rod here, and you can see that I'm missing that rod. And when I straighten this right wrist, I'm getting much closer to the rod. So actually, with it straight, I'm hitting it. And when I bend it back, I'm missing it by 3 inches. So the right wrist is very important. We want to basically set it at some level of extension when we address the ball. And we want it to basically stay there. Another plane, hang on. Air Alaska. I guess if you're from Alaska, Palm Springs is a good place to come. But so we want to keep this right wrist, and that's why, it's funny. I see a lot of people, not a lot. I've seen a few people do well chipping with just their right hand. And if you chip with just your right hand, it's kind of instinctual to keep this extension in the right wrist through the shot. And they kind of take the club and they go like this. And I notice, and I always wondered why that worked, like chipping with the right hand. And one reason is I see this, they maintain this extension in this right wrist. So if I chip this with one hand, which I've never done before, this will be the first time I've ever done it, and I hit that really nicely because you maintain that extension in the right wrist, your radius stays more constant. So just so you know, with these radius killers that I'm talking about, no one is going to give you a perfectly consistent radius until you put it all together. And the final one that I give you is really the coup de grace. That's what really kind of is the icing on the cake, so to say. So right wrist extension is very important. So if I was, say, going to hit a lower shot, I would set this with more right wrist extension. In other words, my hands would be more forward, but I need to maintain that right wrist extension through the shot. That's a beautiful shot. So now you will see. So Phil Mickelson talked about hinge and hold. So what he would do is he would hinge it and then hold it, right? And I don't want to get in any more arguments about me criticizing Phil Mickelson's instruction. But when I explain to you the final radius killer, I'm going to explain to you why and how hinge and hold works and why it isn't described perfectly in a way that most people can understand. So hinge and hold is definitely part of the reason why someone like Phil Mickelson's an amazing chipper. But it's not completely described in a way that most people can understand it. And I will explain it to you. So as I described in the first video, we have this swing center, which is basically the center of our chest. And we have this right wrist extension. And we're going to pivot around the hip. And there you go. A perfect chip going. So that's 1 and 2. Number 1, swing center, very much controls our radius. And I talked about pivoting like this. If you haven't watched it, please go back to video 1, because when I give you the final piece to all this, I want you to have the whole thing, because I know it will work, but you need to understand everything. Your pivot should be very much like this, not like that. So right shoulder up, right wrist extension, and boom. And that one is going in the hole. About a foot away. So that's radius killer number 2. And let me tell you something, if you know someone who can't chip, please share these videos, like, subscribe, comment, and share these videos, because, I mean, bad chipping is the bane of golf. It really is. It's the number 1 stroke killer, from what I've seen, and when it comes to people playing rounds of golf. So, there you go. Right wrist extension, pivot, boom. That easy. Control the radius. Follow all my videos. I'm going to talk about uphill lies, downhill lies, how this radius must be altered for certain lies, and how to do it. And, you know, one of the secrets to chipping is that in chipping, we need to control the wrists, okay? And we need to understand wrist control is super important in chipping. Whereas when we take a full swing, we want all the power we can get. We want to hit it far. We want these wrists to do stuff. In chipping, we're trying to hit it a short distance. We don't want them to do stuff. We want to control them. And understanding certain wrist conditions will help control the radius, maintain a consistent radius, and also curb that power that we don't really want. We don't want a lot of power when we hit a chip. We don't want to hinge this thing and load up for a grizzly bear when we're trying to shoot a butterfly, right? So super important. Stabilize the wrists. So I've given you radius killer 1. That's radius killer number 2. And radius killer number 3 is a big one. And it's a super important one. So like, subscribe, comment. If there's a notification bell, hit that so you're sure to get the next video when I do it. And I'll see you next time. Thank you.